Classes in session.
And welcome to Unlearn 16 Classes in Session. Today, I can't even say my own title today. I'm so Ria, please. I don't know why I look this tired. I think and I just realized I have deodorant on my shirt. So that's nice. I'm only going to film from here up though. It's fine.
Good.
Welcome guys. Ria May is with me today all the way from Halifax.
Halifax, Nova Scotia.
The connection's great.
The connection of Wi-Fi or our friendship connection?
Both, Ria. They're both very grounded.
Good.
I am so thankful that you came on today. And it's been a long time since I've seen your face. We chat on text message a little bit. And how is it out in Halifax?
It's good. It's like, I want to say it's a slower pace than, I'm from Halifax, first of all. It's a beautiful little city. It's like, it's not a town, it's a legit city, but it's a small city. And I've been living in Toronto for the past while, so it's definitely a change. But I know Toronto's probably everywhere slow right now, so I can't really.
Well, we're starting to bustle, right? Our premier's not necessarily the sharpest tool in the shed, so we're starting to bustle a little bit.
Right.
So how has music been going out? So everybody that knows, Ria is this amazing singer. Been doing it since you released your first album in 2009, you just said?
Yep.
Ria, that's a long time ago.
It's more than a couple of years.
That's a bit ago. How's it been going, like, musically, when we're all sort of trapped in our houses? I mean, I feel like it would be a good kind of creative setting, but how has that felt? Or do you feel more isolated?
You know what? I felt like it should have been the perfect time to create. And when it first happened, the first like 60 days, I went hard. And I
Right.
was locking myself in the room and putting so much pressure on it. And then I just hit a wall. And then I had this series of like, I got super depressed. And then I was like, I need a month off. And then it was like, oh God, I haven't written anything in 2 months. Like, and then that messed with and then I had like a couple months where things were great. Now, oh yeah, everything's coming out. And then I literally made like a whole album and then only picked like two of the songs and deleted the rest. And like, I've been through it anyway. So it's like, I thought in my head, if you told me you're going to have 18 months in your house, I would have been like, oh my God, I'm going to be like putting out all this content, all this music. But like, it was just not like that. I have a little kid too. Like it's weird. It's so different for people that have
Beautiful little boy.
beautiful little boy. And like, so it's, I don't know. I'm at a good place now where I'm like, I've got to spend a lot of time with him. I
Right.
finally do have most of an album completed, but I spent a lot of time beating myself up, not being productive enough. I just didn't realize how important it was to be like productive, like to my own self-esteem. And I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
gotta work through that. Yeah.
But it's so funny. Like, obviously, you're a musician, and the rest of us I think I had a very similar experience, and I'm a teacher. So it's like we thought, okay, I can ride this out. And then what we don't realize, because I think, would you can describe yourself as an introvert?
I don't know what, I think I'm mostly an introvert. Yeah.
You know?
Some
So,
tendencies of extroversion.
well, and then there's on stage. So I think you spend them all on stage and then you have to, but
That's
for
right.
me, I think I'm an extrovert. So I thought I was going to, have a really hard time with it because I get a lot of energy from people. But I think I went through the same thing. It's kind of like this roller coaster of, okay, this is going to be good. I'm going to be able to do all this stuff. I'm going to have all of this balance all of a sudden. And then all of it, you kind of felt, well, I felt completely disconnected.
Right.
And any creativity or any thoughts I had of doing stuff around the house or what I would get done, I mean, it all went out the window
Yeah.
completely.
I think it's like, I feel like if someone said it's going to be 22 months, do it, plan it and execute it. But I think for me, what it was is, it was like, is it 4 months? Is it 6 months? Like,
Yeah,
do I just have this 1 month left with my family? Oh no,
right.
it's 3 months. Oh no, oh God, now I'm scared to get sick. Oh, now I'm
Yeah,
like nervous about the vaccine. And then I'm like, oh God, now I'm nervous. I'm not going to have the vaccine. It's like your head,
so
there's
much.
so, we keep forgetting we're in a literal pandemic, I think too, where it's like, if it was just someone being like, stay home for 22 months, I would have killed it. I would have like built a house, had like 10 albums, took a month long, just no phones in the house moment. Like I would have,
Right.
like, but it's, you can't, if I could go back in time, I'd do it different, but
Well, I guess when you're living through craziness, you don't know you're in crazy. When they teach about this 20 years from now,
yeah.
it's going to come off very, very differently. All right. I want to start with how I met you. I don't know if you remember this. I know you remember meeting me, but I was at the same event as Ria. It was at Fort York, I think. Is that where we were?
Oh,
In
yes.
Toronto, right? So I'm at the same event, and she's headlining a show, and we're at a sound check. And I'm a big fan of craft services or whatever food they have there. So any event I go to, whether any music kind of stuff that I'm behind the scenes, I'm real excited to see the table of food. And normally artists stay the hell away from the table of food because
Right.
well, whatever. So I saw you and I didn't say hi or anything. I might have come up to you after, but I saw headlining the show. I'm a little starstruck back then, right? You've released taking off, take your clothes off. And I'm just like, you come in, and there I am eating at craft services. And this chick takes out two hard boiled eggs in a baggie from her pocket. And I'm watching this and I'm like, did she bring those from home? You took them out, you sat down by yourself at like this big, huge, long table, and you took them out and you just ate two hard boiled. And I'm right at that moment, I kind of love her. The fact that she's this huge, you're recording for Sony, you're touring, whatever, and this chick took the time to make herself two hard-boiled eggs and to crack them open, and it's like you didn't even eat in your trailer. You're like, I'm just going to eat it at the craft service table because that seems,
I have no recollection of that, but that sounds exactly what I would do. I
It
believe.
was hilarious. It was so I didn't really introduce myself, and then you're trying to get home quickly in Toronto. For anybody who's listening who's not from Toronto, it can be annoying. And she lived like 5 seconds away, so I'm like, I'll drive you. It's fine. And you seem genuinely like a little bit like, who is this chick trying to drive me home? And then B, it was just I just felt like it was a natural thing to offer, whereas you're kind of like, Toronto people don't do that.
Toronto people usually don't do that. And you had this really, you always have like nice cars. So I'm always, and I don't know anything about cars, but I know a good car when I see, like, I'm really always, and I like when people like things. So like when someone owns a nice car, it's obviously because they like cars and
Right.
they know something about it. So I just like, if it was just an interesting point of like, okay, you were really nice. And then you offered to drive me home in Toronto and you had this really cool car. So it was like, it was a moment. I was like, okay, okay.
Could have gone either way, really. But I feel like that car ride solidified a friendship. I don't know how it happened.
It did, because I got out of that car and I went and told Sarah, my wife, I was like, I think I made a new friend. Like, so, like, yeah, I feel like it was just, it was great.
Instantaneous.
Instantaneous.
So back then, we'll talk a little bit about that. Back then, you were with Sony,
Hmm.
and you were touring. What was the transition from Sony to independent? What was that like? And then the transition for everybody now, you are now signed with Warner and putting out a new album. What was that whole experience like? I know that you'll try to be nice talking about Sony, but what was it really like? Because I feel like there's some freedom and constraints in both categories, and it probably deals with your head differently.
Yeah, and I mean, I was independent and without a manager for a while, like for my first two releases, and just did, booked every show, but had no
At the beginning, though, right?
beginning. Yeah, like had no.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I had done two album cycles like that on my own. I knew exactly how it went, and it's a lot of work. And you sort of incrementally get a bit more success. You're playing to 10 people, then 15 people, then 22 people. Then I sold out my 100 cap room in Halifax. Then you move to the 200 cap, like. And I was like,
Right.
that's how it's going to be. It's going to be a slow climb, and that's how it's going to be. And in about 10, 15 years, I'll be able to maybe sell out a 500 cap, and I'll be able to pay
Right.
my bills, and I'll have stability. I had some very reasonable goals. And then I had this song called, I wrote Clothes Off, and I asked
Nice.
Classified to produce it. Classified is this big Canadian rapper, and he's actually from my hometown. And so he's like, when someone famous lives in your hometown, you can get a bit obsessed to be like, that's my ticket. He needs to know who I am.
Yeah.
It really was my ticket. And so he produced some of this for me. And then I said, like, how do you get stuff on the radio? And he was like, well, you need to hire a radio promoter. And I was like, okay. Like, I Google it. Oh God, it's $4,000. Like, I don't have
Yeah.
$4,000. Like, if I had $4,000, I'd be a different person. So I started doing like Airbnb of my, like, staying at my girlfriend's house, but like Airbnbing my house for $100 a night,
Oh my
and
God, to raise this money?
to raise this money. Then
It's amazing.
I got a grant for $2,500, which was huge at the time for me, and still is a huge amount. And finally got about $4,000 together and hired a radio promoter. And I did not know how it worked at all, and I always had reasonable and low hopes by this point, because I by this point as an artist, you're like, everyone tells you things are going to go well, and it never
Yeah,
does.
yeah, yeah.
I hired this tracker. She got me on to two radio stations, not pop ones. They were alternative stations. One was in Ottawa and one was in Halifax.
Right.
And the one in Halifax put me on, I was on like twice a day, which is huge for an independent artist. And someone from Sony heard it on that radio station in those 6 weeks. You only get 6 weeks for $4,000, and then you're done.
That's
And it wasn't, there's no A&R people on this side of the country. There's no one. It was literally a radio rep. So meaning, like, when Adele has a new album, Sony from Toronto calls this radio rep and says, all right, Adele needs to go on, make it work with
right.
your local station. He's not an A&R guy where he's looking for artists. And he just kept hearing this song and being like, this person isn't signed. Like, this is strange that this song's on twice a day. And it's, anyway, the whole Sony team flew out here.
Oh my
Luckily, I
God.
had the whole album written already, except for about two songs. Like, I didn't have Thoughts on Fire, but I had Ooh Love, and I had a whole bunch of stuff. And they wanted to come and see a show, and Classified. Luckily, this is where he comes in and kind of saved me. I didn't have a great show then. If they had flown out and seen my show, they might not have signed me. I couldn't play with tracks yet. I was very confused about what my show
Ah,
was. And
right.
he came into the email chain and said, no, she's not doing a show. Come to my studio. So they all came to the studio. He bought them some drinks, and we listened to my music, and we just talked, and they gave me a record deal on the spot. 6 months later, they re-release it with, like, they got the guy that mixed Shake It Off for Taylor Swift.
Right. It has that vibe. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was like it doesn't have a lot of tracks in that song, but they needed it to pop. So they mixed it a different way and re-released it. 6 months later, it's like, that by the end of that year it had went gold, and then a few months later went platinum, selling 4,000 copies a week. This is before Spotify, right? It was the year when it was still
Yeah.
iTunes. I was selling 4,000 every week on iTunes, give or take. I never hit 5,000. I never went below 3 forever. And then they just kept, and then my shows went, I skipped the 500 mark in Halifax. All of a sudden I had to play to 2,000 people.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it was great. It was everything I had hoped for, and they gave me, I really can't talk bad about Sony because they changed my life in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it
Uh,
kind of sounds like Classified really did like step up, you know what I mean? But it
yeah.
was your song. Somebody heard Look, and I say this to everybody about everything. I mean, the music industry is a special kind of animal, but it's about everything. It's about being in the right room at the right time with the right people who go, that's it. You know what I mean? And when people I've talked to different people about music and about acting and stuff like that, I'm like, I just would never say no. I just consistently say yes because you never know who's going to be sitting beside you at the dinner you didn't want to go to
Yes.
or, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly that. Yeah, you have to be, it's like you have to make your art and sort of know your brand, and then you just have to get out there, yeah, and say yes to everything. Try to keep that, like, hopeful, like the positive attitude of, like, this is going to
Right.
happen. Just when, is it tonight at this event? Is it,
Right.
and it's, and I just, yeah, I think that's a really important mindset to have. You definitely
I
have
think
that.
you said something super important though. You said know your brand, like know who you are and know your there it is. In my
Mhm.
opinion, that's the biggest problem people have. They're trying to figure out what somebody wants, what's cool, what's in, what's whatever, you know? Like you never wrote, or maybe you did. I don't think you wrote Take Your Clothes Off thinking Taylor Swift. Like you wrote it because you wrote it.
Yeah.
And I think people, and again, this just applies to life, when you know who you are, when you know where you stand, when you know how you want to enter a room, two things happen. Number one, people get that authenticity, because I don't think many people have it, and then they want to follow you.
Hmm.
And number two, you're leading it authentically so that when it actually happens, you're going to have real fans, real following. You
Yeah.
know, nothing's you don't need to perpetuate a lie or an identity or whatever, you know?
Right. Yeah, 100%. And it is hard, like, and I'm not immune to that, like, thing of, oh, maybe I should do this because this is kind of
Yeah.
popular. Like, that, I think that is the work of being an artist in many ways. And I know when I was making that album with Close Off and Ooh Love and all those kind of songs that people first heard from me, I used to take a bath every day. I didn't have a shower in this house I only had a bath. And
What?
I'm quite tall. I'm almost 5'10", and the bath was in, like, the roof was like this, like you couldn't sit. It was really hard for me to get in the bath, but I took a bath every day and I made my bath like an hour long meditation of visualizing what it would look like to look like me and be on the radio and have music videos, because I loved hip hop music. I only saw like straight, attractive, like, traditionally attractive women. Like, I remember being like, I want to collaborate with Classified. I want to collaborate with like hip hop artists. I remember people being like, "You want to be a rap girl?"
Yeah.
Because that's all we had. That's all I had too. And I was like, "No, almost like imagine like if like Missy Elliott was like Ed Sheeran, but like kind of like classic, but like
Are
I didn't.
you wait a minute, are you Ed Sheeran?
I don't know. Like I was just like trying to pick out like an acoustic guitar,
Yeah,
cool like Missy Elliott, where she's not trying to like rub up on guys.
right.
Not that that's not cool. I mean, like cool for a queer person to like,
Yeah, for sure.
and then all this stuff, and like you have to get you have to meditate on what's the best version of me. How Look at yourself doing it. You don't have to be like, how am I gonna, you don't have to know how to get there. You just have to see yourself, like,
Yeah.
see myself in 5 years, being successful with a couple of kids, living in different cities. Like, you have to see it, because if you don't see it, then it's like the whole thing will, you might as well just give up almost, which,
Right. That's it. Look, I think that's an incredibly important point because I think a lot of people who are striving for whatever dream they have, they need to, they're trying to figure out step one, step two, step three, step four, right? Which is overwhelming and impossible because, like, look at you. You just skipped over about 17 steps, all of a sudden playing to 2,000 people. But if you visualize the end result, then you'll take whatever step, whatever winding, crazy path you need to take,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you have to be, what is that saying? I'm probably going to get it wrong, but like, don't let your goals get in the way of your dreams or something. It's like when you have like this, oh, I have to play this and then do this and do this. And it's like, well, remember though, your dream is to create, to be
Right.
happy, to be financially stable, to
Yeah.
do this and this and this. Like your dream isn't to play at, Randy's music venue and sell it out. Like that's not your dream. Your dream isn't to
No
collaborate with
offense, Randy. I'm sure it's a very lovely venue.
Randy is, but my dream, your dream isn't to like, oh, but I really just want to play on, I really just wanted to open for Nickelback, and my friend
Right.
opened for Nickelback, and that's my dream. That's not your dream. Your dream
Nickelback.
is, like that is a goal, but it's not
Right.
the dream. So yeah, it's like having the big picture, and then like you said, saying yes to everything and just being like, okay, it's a little game of snakes and ladders. Like, how do I get up?
Right.
Yeah.
That's an amazing, I've never even distinguished between the two, the difference between a goal and a dream.
Hmm.
I think that's a very cool distinction. The fact that goals are very end result, are very permanent, are very concrete, whereas a dream is a life, is an entire holistic picture. That's
Yeah.
look at you teaching me something on a Saturday morning. Wide awake, coming up with new things I can tell my students. I'll say, Ria May told me.
Great.
Okay, what's your favorite song you've ever? First of all, a lot of artists will say they get famous for a song they don't particularly love. Is that the case?
Close Off was definitely the song that like that bumped everything up for me.
Yeah.
I like it. I don't listen to it, but I
Okay.
every time I play it, I love it. I like the reaction it gets, and I'm like thankful for it. Thank God
Yeah.
I stuck with it. Yeah.
There's well, it was a huge. I mean, my listener. I mean, I have a lot of people from the states, and some people maybe don't know your music. Just so everybody knows, like Ria has been an out. You've been out the whole time of your career, right?
Yep. Yep.
Which is amazing. Like you have to think in 2000, you said 2009, for you to
Mhm.
be like, look, I started. That's when I started No, I started teaching before that. Nope, I lied. God, I just reduced my age by 10 years. That was nice.
That's
But in
fine.
that time, I remember when I started teaching, not too far before that, in it was I was nervous to be out as a teacher, responses, right? So for you to be out as an artist in an industry that before gold, because I read, the way that gold was perceived and taken, you nobody was doing that.
It's
Was
true.
there?
Yeah, like especially with my gender. I don't know what my gender is still, but
That's cool.
you know
Nobody does.
yeah, but Tegan and Sarah have a lot of people, so they have a much more international career than I do, and they are so cool and have done so much for my self-esteem and to pave the way to be like, oh, these cool queer musicians can exist. They're stylish and everything, but like I always felt like a little bit like I'm a little less sort of like stylish and a little more gay looking. I'm like a poor man's Tegan and Sarah. And so for me, it's like
A little less stylish, a little more gay.
just or not more gay, just a little more boyish, like.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, I just never seen something exactly like mine in that sort of way, and
Right.
wanted to. I knew that I couldn't. I mean, anyone that knows me, you might see a picture of me and be like, she could pass for straight in this picture. But if
Right.
anyone meets me, I'm not gonna. There's so many interviews that I'm not gonna pretend that I'm straight for like the rest of my career. Like it just was never even an
Right.
option, whether I want to or not. So yeah, close off video came out. It was very, there was no, it wasn't gay or straight. It was just a bunch of people dancing in the
Yeah.
video. And it was a very low budget. It was like my brother and his friends and my friends. And we
Right.
recycled people. Like there was like, my brother was two different people. And then some of the guys from Neon Dreams, another Canadian band, were in it. And then when the second song came out, Gold, I knew I needed to make a video that was who I was, because it started being people being like, is this artist gay? Is this artist pretending not to be gay? Like,
Right.
I'd go out to these like events and people, like gay people, would come to me and be like, "You're gay, right? Is that a gay song?" Like, I was like, "Oh, I need to make I just felt like I needed to say like, yeah, it's no big deal. I'm not coming out, but here's my very gay music video for Gold."
Yeah. Here's me kissing a girl. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think, look, and I mean, I love Tegan and Sarah, and they've been out. Oh, I don't know how long they've been out. They've been out, God, but early 2000s, anyways. Maybe 2000.
Yeah, a long time.
Long time.
Yeah,
But their music was still. Everybody knew they were gay and whatever. But yours, it was a little more sexualized. It was a little bit more here, you know what I mean? Whereas I think Tegan and Sarah came in it softly with a lot of metaphor and a lot of,
yeah, yeah. Because they have,
very
yeah,
Melissa Etheridge-esque kind of music, right? Everybody still knew they were gay. They're amazing to watch in person because they're very funny together.
mhm.
But I still say that you kind of put it, here's me in a music video with a girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that they had to play it like it wouldn't have worked before it worked.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
I think it wouldn't have worked. I think my first single being so successful and having people just think whatever they want, and getting a bunch of like straight moms and a bunch of like older dudes, and then that
Yeah.
second one being like, oh, and this is my love interest, where if I did that first, it might have kind of alienated people to be like, oh, this isn't for me. Or
Yeah.
even gay people can be bad for that. Oh, it's a gay thing. Okay. Like,
Exactly. And I think, and maybe it was just a little bit more natural. Maybe it was just a little bit more, but I feel like you just kind of, it's just, again, w- I don't know how nervous you felt about it, but you're just like, this is where it has to be like this. I can't run the rest of my life or my career, saying, "Oh, my partner or they," just to keep everybody at bay. That's too much. And I would expect for an artist to say what they really want to say. If
Yeah.
they're not authentic, how the hell can you do that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I felt like at that point I was like I have a higher purpose, which is like so good for an artist to not, the worst thing an artist can do is start to think it's a really about them, and people don't like me because they don't like me, or people like me because I'm an amazing human, or it's like it's you have to at some point adjust, you have to at some point be like, oh, it's a higher purpose. I'm showing people that this person is a thing, because people
Hmm.
don't know, like some people don't know that someone like me exists, where me and you know that a bunch of people
Yeah.
like us exist. We're in the
Yeah.
world all the time, but like, so just having something that people can be proud of, be like, it just helps that thing where I couldn't visualize what I wanted to be as I couldn't even visualize what I would look like as an adult because I looked like a boy my whole life.
Right.
So it's like now someone else can be like, oh, maybe that's what I'm going to be like as an adult. Maybe a little bit different, probably because they're not exactly me, but at least they have a path to be like, oh, look, I can do arts and be myself and wear hoodies and
Hmm.
have a kid. Like,
Well, I think it's, and as a teacher, it's the same, right? Like I came out within my first year of teaching, and a lot of people are like, a lot of people still ask me, are you out? Are you whatever? I'm like, of course I am, because that's way more important. I feel like being gay and being out, not to tell people to be gay, some people get that confused, but to be exactly who I want to be in front of a room full of kids every single year doesn't tell them who to be. It just gives them the option of diversity. It gives them the option of this. Well, if Joanna can stand in front of the classroom and, have tattoos all over her arm
yeah,
and say my girlfriend or my wife
yeah.
and not think anything of it, then that's an open door. And I think for you, you do it on just such a bigger scale.
Yeah, it's so important, eh? It's like you just having that representation. And that's like what we hear now in the last couple of years. Everyone's so aware of it. It's like,
Mhm.
we're talking about like, even, I don't know why this popped in my head now, but like the Asian community's representation, like, what Indian kids saw growing up, that, like
Absolutely.
with the Simpsons and all that stuff. And it's like, it's so
Right.
important just yeah, just to be comfortable and not hide yourself and give people another, it helps everybody. It helps, like someone in your class is going to have a kid one day that has the same like gender as you and blah blah, and it's going to be so not a shock because they have a bud that was a teacher that was.
You know what? Exactly. And already kids in my school, like I've seen a progression, and I don't know if you've seen this too in your industry, right? You just see a progression of people just at this point going, whatever.
Yeah,
My
it's
kids don't
yeah,
care.
yeah,
I'm not shocking anybody. I'm not, everybody's like, oh, it's so different. I'm like, you know what? My kids find me boring. And that's about, and which is the loveliest thing, right? I'm just the same boring person. I say wife, they don't care. I
yeah,
say whatever. Like, um, and I think that's the best place to get to, but you need
totally,
people to stand up and do that, right?
totally, yep.
Okay, so my 4 favorite songs. You wanna know my 4 favorite songs?
Okay, yeah,
I have 2 cards, just so you know. I
perfect.
am a teacher, so take your clothes, you gotta let clothes off. I'm sorry, I was going out all the time. It was a great song. It was at every single club I went to. It's fantastic. Bend, I love Bend.
Oh yeah,
Uh, uh, Broken with Tegan was amazing. Can we talk about the darkness of that song for a second?
yeah.
Like, were you like, so when did you write Broken?
Broken, I wrote. So after I got my record deal, I moved to Montreal. I was in a relationship for a few years that was like really unhealthy, like
Right.
just like a toxic relationship. And I I knew that me getting really busy and touring was not possible in this relationship. There's a lot of jealousy, and so when I got this opportunity, it was also like it broke us up.
Right.
And I went to Montreal alone and just rented a room in a house, and it was a soundproof room that a musician had done up,
Right.
so I could write all through the night, even though I had roommates. And yeah, I wrote and recorded. I think Bend was made there, and definitely Broken. and I didn't know how to finish it. That song never had a bridge, and so it just sat with like verse chorus for like probably a year and a half or 2 years,
Wow.
until Tegan came into like a writing session with me, and I just played her all of my ideas.
Yeah.
Um, Tegan Quinn, sorry, we're both just using the first name, but
Tegan and Sarah of Tegan and Sarah.
um, but yeah, that song is just yeah, I think a lot of the songs of mine that have done well have been more positive, and that's like most artists. Like your radio singles are like the yeah, take your clothes off, or like
Right.
I love you, love me back. And this is just a darker. Yeah, I have
So dark.
some of my favorite songs. Like are I have a song called Crazy on my first album that's just about me being paranoid. I was a relationship before that. I was like every second this girl wasn't with me, I assumed she was cheating on me. I couldn't.
Oh
It was like I
God.
couldn't stop thinking about it. And
Right.
then I realized one day I saw my group of friends post that they were out without me, like a nice day, and they were just on Civil Hill, just hangout place in Halifax.
I know that place very well. Yeah.
And that triggered the same feeling. And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm paranoid. It's not the girl.
Oh, it's not about her.
Yeah. So I wrote this song being like, I'm fucking crazy. Like, she's sleeping with someone else. She's lying to me again. It was basically like, instead of hiding these feelings, I'm just going to tell you, every time you're gone, you're sleeping with someone else. I'm fucking crazy. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And that's the song. And it's like, I
That's
need
amazing.
I need those songs because it's like the more that song surprised me with how many people that's their favorite, especially guys. A lot of straight guys that get dragged to my shows in the beginning. Um, they're like, "Oh, my wife's obsessed with you. I don't know why, but here
Right.
we are." And then they'll usually come up and be like, "Oh, because it's such like a toxic masculinity trait of feeling like you're not good enough. It ties
Right.
into feeling like you're paranoid and your partner's cheating on you, and it feels like if your partner's cheating on you, for some reason, that's like you just feel this big. Like
Right.
I haven't even worked it all out yet, but I know it's like people like us that relate to it, and it's guys mostly. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's an important piece of the puzzle then to get out there.
100%, 100%. And I think you start to realize too when you saw your friends hanging out, and you're like, "Oh, I have the same." Then it has nothing to do with them. I think a lot of our issues and a lot of the things when we say toxic masculinity, or when we say we have these traits, and we all have some, I think a lot of the times we're very in the beginning, unless you get some help, unless you get some perspective, unless you do some self reflection, they're constantly everybody else. It's them, it's that person, it's my mom, it's my ex girlfriend, it's my brother.
Yeah,
And at some point, when you go, oh, it's me, and I don't know why it's me. Obviously, you've had experiences that have led up to that, but that don't shouldn't encapsulate the way that you treat everybody else. I think
yeah,
if we can all get there, and then here's the best part, admit it. Like, you admit it on a freaking world stage. Most of us just, sit at home in our journal and go, oh, or admit it to our close circle.
right.
But you're up here having therapy while singing to 5,000 people. True, right?
Yeah,
I think it's incredibly important to sort of get to that place, and admit. And if we do it loud, and if we do it out, I think then everybody else gets to say, "Oh yeah, this one time I felt this. Oh
yeah.
yeah, this one," you know?
That's the thing, and like some everyone has those couple things that they just feel like I'm never going to tell anyone.
Yeah.
and and I have them too. But like that was one that for some reason that year was like this is my darkest secret I can think of. And then like you write it down and you're like that's not that bad. And then I'm like objectively looking at it and being like oh fuck my best friend definitely feels this way because she's fucking crazy right now too. And then I'm like, oh, fuck.
Exact
You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
and then you just realize that anything that your brain is capable of feeling like other people feel it too and it just brings you closer. It's almost like a little secret weapon like if you're meeting someone and it's like when someone opens up and says like oh I'm having a really hard day my cat just died, all of a sudden you're giving the other person this ability to empathize with you and share
Right.
their story. It brings it closer, and art is no exception. Like if you're an artist and you have a bunch of bubbly songs about nothing, it's hard for people to come in and relate to you. And I think
Mhm.
that without knowing a lot of these like where I spilled my guts, I think is where I've built some cool relationships.
Well, but that's the thing. I mean, we all like the bubbly songs, right? We like to blast the music, singing "Clothes Off," going down the road. That's so much fun, living in that mantra.
Yeah.
But people listen to music for the emotion it creates and it taps into for that person. We don't always want to cry, but
Yeah.
that's what that's what makes us human. That's what connects us to an artist, you know? And that's why I think for me, listening to like my favorite song of yours is For Your Love, for sure.
Mm.
And I think that listening to that song for me, I'm like, oh my, first of all, I thought you wrote it for me. I'm like, oh, I think she listened to some of my stuff that I've been through. I think she sat down and Ria May wrote this song for Joanna. You should have put for Joanna right in the caption. But that's the key. You know what I mean? The key is being able to write something so that somebody in a different part of the world going through a different experience but feels that can actually tap into it.
Mm. That's I like that you like that song. It's like one of the that was the first song I released as an independent artist.
Oh
And
my god.
yeah, that was like right
Really?
after yes, the last song I released with Sony was a song called Too Close. And
Right.
we parted ways when that was like on the radio climbing the charts and it was a very weird I was like so thankful for them pushing the song and so like sad to be leaving and just had mixed emotions like, you know,
Well, what was that like? Like, okay, so you're with Sony, you pump out all this music, you seem to be doing incredibly well, and then what what happened?
I'm learning now. It's like labels change so much, and the team I had at the beginning, which I can't say enough good things about, it just wasn't the team I had at the end.
Right.
It's like they let go like 16 people one day that were like,
Yeah.
and like four of them were like on my team, like my day to day team,
Yeah.
and just a whole bunch of things started changing, and I kept the same A&R guy. Like A&R people are sort of like your you would submit your songs to them and say, here's what I'm thinking. This is my album. And they might come back and say, ooh, this is great. This one would be really good with, Beyonce, or this one would
Right.
be, this one doesn't, I don't know. That never happened to me. This
I'll
one,
call Beyonce. Just give me a second.
let me call Beyonce for you. And then it would be, they might be say, this one is really great. I don't think it's strong enough. Let's find another producer. They would try to like,
Right.
they're just like that person that's really good at,
Right.
helping with the overall picture. And I had the same A&R guy the whole time, loved him, like would sleep on his couch in Toronto. We were really close and I'm really
Right.
sad to not be with him anymore. But the label just wasn't the same and it wasn't, I was just struggling. It was a lot slower for me to release music and it just wasn't the same experience. And my
Well,
manager just did whatever
said no
man
more.
yeah it was a nice ending and by the way like I think this is a lesson too like Warner called Sony when Warner signed me this year they just said we just want to call Sony hang on we'll call you back
Mhm.
it's like a job calling your references
Your
so
references, sure.
yeah and I knew they were I knew the loyalty there they were going to say nothing but great things and
Mhm.
I think a new label's probably looking for like if they were like, I'll tell you about Ria. She's really hard to
Right.
work with. She comes in with a big ego. She doesn't actually write her own songs. We did.
Look,
She's really expensive.
Ria, here's what Ria comes with: two boiled eggs. That's what she comes with.
She doesn't have her two boiled eggs. She doesn't go on stage. So I don't know exactly what that conversation was like, but I never was nervous for a minute because I knew that I
Mhm.
handled myself well there. And if anything, I just wanted to work more and I was coming up against a wall.
Mhm.
And they told Warner that, and Warner offered me a nice deal during the
Amazing.
pandemic, which was an interesting. So I haven't met a lot of the staff on Warner. It's all been Zoom meetings, but they're
Right.
they're a bigger label up here in Canada, and they've done great things. So
Yeah, they have great people on their label. Now, I never thought about this until right now, but when you came out, you have iTunes, but there hasn't been that shift to Spotify. So, of course, that was going to impact Sony and that label and how many people they could keep and artists they could pump out and money they no longer had
mhm,
because you'd seen this huge shift. to listening to music online, and labels no longer had that power. So you kind of came in right at that time where you came in, you pumped out some great music, and then boom, Spotify and all of that changes everything.
Yeah, it's funny because even like maybe 5 to 10 years before I signed, there was this really negative outlook in the Canadian industry where like labels were making no money at all because of like was it LimeWire? Like people were ripping off.
LimeWire. Oh my god.
So right before iTunes came out, there was
Right.
no way to monetize. Like the internet was just like everyone was getting their music literally for free. And the
Hmm.
concept of when iTunes came out, people were like, people aren't going to pay $1 for a song they could, you know, and
Do it for free.
somehow Apple got it together and it was great. So when I got signed, it was in this really fruitful era of like everyone was so happy and they were like a lot of these staff had worked at the record industry 30 years ago and we're like, "Oh, it was so incredible and these last few years feels like this. We're finally signing domestic. We're, putting money into artists and it's great." And yeah, I think in a lot of ways, Spotify, like, it's weird, because when Spotify came along and then Apple streaming started, labels do make quite a bit of money from streaming. They all had their
Mm,
hands in Spotify. They all owned parts of it.
right.
And the people that don't make the money now are like the songwriters, like so people that
Yeah.
just write songs that are behind the scenes. And then independent artists can't. There's like a crazy divide now. Like independent artists used to be able to, yeah, sell off physical CDs and make their living, and now it's just it's like you said, it changed everything. Some people are
Mhm.
benefiting more, some people are benefiting a
Yeah.
lot less, and it's regardless, no one knows what they're doing. So it's like 30 years in the music industry sometimes can be erased, in a second because you don't know the algorithms of Spotify. You just knew how to like shake someone's hand at the radio station.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of crossover, of course, like, but it's, yeah, it's a bit of the Wild West for sure.
How
And
long were you independent for?
well,
After Sony to Warner?
about a year.
Okay.
So
Not that long.
I released For Your Love, I released Swoon,
That's a song, I'm telling you. Warner heard that song and went, "Joanna's song, that's why we're signing you."
maybe. But yeah, I released
Oh,
about
Swoon. I love Swoon. I forgot about Swoon.
Swoon, and there was another song I released called Therapy last year, and a song, and then I released some cover. I just start putting stuff out and not
Yeah,
asking anyone, which is really refreshing. Like usually I have to be like, do you like this song? And then maybe, and then like a month
yeah.
later, remember this song? I think you like it. We should release it. Whereas this one was like, I'm going to upload it and release it in 3 weeks. Done.
That's amazing.
And it was fun. And it had a bit, yeah, like we got a bit of, For Your Love had a little bit of its own life, but
It's a great song, guys.
I do enjoy being on a label. For me, it works a bit better with what I like to put my energy into.
Sure.
It's just like the songwriting and the touring.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
But I think now too, being with Warner, you're a little bit older, you've jumped through a few hoops. I would expect, especially having that time where you released your own stuff, you didn't ask anybody, and look, it did well.
mhm.
Warner, it's kind of like, somebody a little bit older, more experienced coming to the table, and they're going to respect that a little bit further. They're going to listen to you a little bit more rather than saying, nah, change this. We want you working with this person.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, it's such a new relationship, but that is what I'm, yeah, thinking and hoping. And I think
Yeah,
labels these days are smart. Like they know that, I don't know, man, unless you have a bazillion dollars to manufacture like a BTS or something, like you can't really manufacture a human, not in this country. You can't just, I think the best thing you can do is give an artist space, and money, maybe they want to do something and you give them, like, I want to do a video that's like this, and you give them the
yeah,
money and you give them the
yeah,
freedom because, yeah, I mean, it's all about just so many artists have potential and they just don't get to see that through. And I think that's the biggest gift you can give someone is to just let them get better at what they do.
right.
And I really, I do think that this new label will be like that, but we'll see. I'll let you know. I'll come back on the podcast if they suck.
Amazing. Uh, okay, so we're going to talk about tours a little bit. First of all, you've toured with Tegan and Sarah. We're going to talk about how you snuck in to meet them because that's awesome. I don't know why I wasn't with you for that. Katie, Lang, and Dido. My first question. You
Mhm.
ready? I'm going to need an honest answer here, Ria.
Okay.
Out of those four people,
Mm-hmm.
who's the best kisser?
Katie Lang.
What's that? Katie Lang. It's a solid answer. She's
Yeah,
had the most experience.
yeah, most experience. She's man, that her Katie Lang's show is like unbelievable. I'm glad I didn't see the show before we opened. You know what I mean? I'm glad I didn't like see the show and then we had to go open because, oh god, it's so good. Like, we when we showed up to the green room, her assistant came and gave us all green smoothies,
Hmm.
and everything was like all zen and relaxed and just like so pro. They were. It was,
Right.
yeah. Katie's cool.
So you snuck in to meet Tegan and Sarah. What's that story?
So in Canada, we have these MMVAs. It's the Much Music Video Awards. They're kind of like the MTV Awards in the States. And after Close Off got nominated, or something got nominated, maybe Gold Video got nominated for an MMVA. And there's these classes of artists where it's like the A level, B level, and I was in the B level. And so we were downstairs with open bar, but like also like influencers and like just like important lot. It wasn't just artists. And then the A level artists were like, like Miley Cyrus, Tegan and Sarah, I don't know, Marianas Trench, 21, I don't know, A
Right.
level people.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've known for years that I am perfect to open for Tegan and Sarah. Like that is just, it's a no brainer. And my team was like,
Right.
it's a no brainer, but as big as your team is, you still need to have that connection. No team.
Yeah.
If Tegan and Sarah get a phone call from like, hey, this is David at Warner. We have an artist named like, imagine like
Yeah.
Jonah, blah blah blah. Can they open? They're like,
Right.
no. What are you talking? No. You need that personal connection. So I was like, I love drinking alcohol. I really do, but I know that I couldn't at that event. I was like, what I'm going to do is have zero drinks,
Right.
which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
irritate me. If everyone around me is drinking and I'm not being
Right.
fun actually. And my only goal was to meet Tegan and Sarah. And so everyone would come up to me, like the head of iHeartRadio, Rhea, this
Right.
wonderful, beautiful gay man. Rhea, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm just trying to meet Tegan and Sarah. Can you help me out? And then someone else would come down. How have you been? I'd be better if I could meet Tegan and Sarah. Trying to be charming and not annoying, but just I wanted everyone to.
Right.
And finally, actually, someone I met at the Warner team was like, I think I helped you meet Tegan and Sarah. I used like 12 people. And
Oh.
someone came down with a bracelet. I think it was, I shared a publicist with Fifth Harmony,
Right.
and they were in the A level.
Amazing.
So
Yes. Well, Fifth Harmony. Yeah.
I think one of them had their bracelet come off or something. And someone else said, this is a half a bracelet. Just tie this on and
Right.
follow me. And it was someone that wouldn't get questioned. Like, like the head of CBC. I don't know. Someone. Who the fuck knows?
The head of
And,
CB. The head of CBC.
and it was like a movie because I finally got upstairs past the guard. And then there was one more guard that was in front of the green rooms. And
Right.
he had just worked with me. He was my personal security at the Juno's song circle I had just played. And he
Yeah.
goes, Rhea, nice to see you again. And I was like, oh,
Right.
and we kind of like high five. And I was like, oh, I'm just coming in to hang out. He's like, awesome. Let me in. Didn't even think.
Right.
And then I go outside and I see their personal security and their publicist. And I was like, there was another Sony person up there. Sony
Right.
could not have let me up there. It was illegal. But once I got up there, I could hang out with the Sony staff that were up there.
Right.
So I was like, you need to go talk to but anyway, long story. Just all these like different levels to the point of when finally their publicist went in to ask them if they could meet me. I was shaking as if I was like going to murder them. Like in my head, I was like, this looks insane. My whole night has been trying to meet them. They're not going to want. I looked like that crazy fucking girl. And I was like, I've made a horrible decision. Then they pull me into their room. Tegan and Sarah are very little people. They're so they're so cute, but they're very little people. And I'm very big, and I'm kind of self-conscious about how big I am sometimes because I'm tall. And I come into this room that's so well lit, you could like see through people's skin. And their skin's perfect, by the way. And I have rosacea. And it's like this tiny room that's well lit. They have 12 people around the outside of the room because their whole team couldn't fit in this tiny, well lit room. Then those two,
Well lit.
then those two, and then me with a big red face. And I'm like, hey. And they had clearly done a bit of Google search on me before I came in, or their team had. And they were like,
Yeah.
hey, you live in Montreal. Sarah lived in Montreal. I was like, oh, yeah. And then all this stuff. And I started shaking a little bit. And this really showed me what a great person Tegan is, because Tegan
Right.
kind of noticed me getting nervous and she shot into talking about herself, taking all the energy off me. You know,
Right.
she's like, "Oh, I'm doing this and blah blah blah. Do you like this? Or what about this?" And then she said, "How is touring going? How are things going?" And I had just got kicked off a tour. Like I was supposed to open for ex ambassadors, but then they at the last moment said no and took their
Yeah.
friend. And I wanted everything in my heart. I wanted to tell Tegan that I was doing great. And all that came out of my mouth was, "I just got kicked off a tour." I was like, "Oh God." And then she was like, "Oh, when was it?" I was like, "It was supposed to be January, February. Like it was going to be huge." And anyway, it's fine. I'm just bummed. Sorry, that I shouldn't have said that. And then she was like, "Well, hold on a minute, Sarah, Ria, Europe, the Europe tour. They had a tour in Europe, January, February, and this was like August." And I was like, "What?" They're like, "You should come on tour with us."
You should come.
What? Really? I was like, "Oh my, okay." And then I'm like, "They like you, and they've offered you something. Get the fuck out of this small room."
Have a nice night.
Yeah. So, and I was like, and I know me, what, like, I just know, I'm like, they think you're cool. That only lasts a couple days. I'm,
Stop.
I gotta get the fuck out of here. So I just like, I was like, okay, well, I actually have to go. Like, I need to go call my mom, my publicist, my manager, my girlfriend. And I just backed out of the room and just fucking gunned it and left the whole event. And it was a big deal for me because I just knew for my career it was a big deal. And I just
Yeah.
like, it meant a lot that they liked me. And now it's funny. And I tell this story, not embarrassed because they are my buds now. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it was just a moment that I knew I needed to make happen. And so there it is. Yeah.
My favorite part of that story, and I want everybody that's listening to really listen to the part, in my opinion, that got you on that tour, was you being honest about who you are, where you were at, and what you were going through. That's what got you that tour wasn't bull crapping about what your life is or bigging up where you are. It was saying, I just got kicked off a tour and it
Right.
sucked.
Yeah, you're right.
It's something everybody would want to hide. They wouldn't want to show that because then Tegan and Sarah would think, what, I'm not good, or they would whatever. But it's that authenticity that people are so terrified of showing. And you're on tour in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, when I said it, I thought it was going to come across like I was a loser and I was not anywhere near ready to tour with bigger artists or something. And yeah, I guess it came, but then to Tegan, she was like, "Oh God," like maybe she was like, "I can relate. That really sucks. Oh, you should come with
There
us."
it is. Right? The same thing we were talking about earlier. You put out your insecurities, you put up your fears, you put out, your panic craziness, which we all have. And instead of people being driven away from you for that, they're drawn into you because of that.
Yeah, that's a big lesson, isn't it? That's the thing.
I'm going to cry. That's lovely. That's lovely. And Tegan and Sarah are, hilarious, amazing writers. I know you did that doing that song when you did the what was the song's name again? When you did Broken with Tegan. Did you guys sit down and write together then for that?
Yeah, so they were on another tour after that through Canada and had a couple days off. I I think they often, when they have days off, Sarah goes to Montreal and Tegan does whatever that's not that.
Yeah.
And I think Tegan knew that I was in Toronto and she had some friends that just had a baby or something. But I had 2 days. She had 2 days off there, and I had 2 days in the studio that same week. And I was like, just pop in the studio and I'll play you some stuff and see if you can write on anything. I didn't think about collaborating. It's so hard to collaborate. I now know it's so hard to collaborate with anyone who's on a major label, because it takes a team of people saying yes, or saying, how
Yes.
do we make the two marketing teams work together? It's just like, it's a ton of work. So I didn't even think about that. I was just like, let's see if she's so good with words. Once I get stuck on a song, I'm like, fuck, I can't finish it. And I just played her a bunch of things. And that night, she was like, can you send me that broken song you played again? I think I have an idea.
Hmm.
And she had an idea for me, but it sounded like that rap. And I was like, oh, like I flipped. I still remember I was like doing laundry and I was like, dude, if you were ever going to do a song with me, it should be this.
Yes.
It should feel like a rap. Like it shouldn't feel like you're singing the choruses with me, harmonies, like fucking
Right.
Indigo Girls. Like
Right.
it should be this, like, you know? And I think my excitement for it was so much that maybe she just couldn't say no, because I was like, dude, like this, you need to do this. And so the next day she came back to the studio, we got her to record it. And then, yeah, it was a bit of a challenge because she's on Warner in the States. And it was like, I was on Sony, and I don't know,
Yeah, that
relationship there, but
they made it work.
they made it work finally, thank fuck. But it was hard to make that one work, actually. Um, but I love it. I love what she did to the song. We've never played it live. I play that song almost every night, but hopefully she can pop up one time because
Pop
we,
up when it just be a surprise. But well, now at least you're both on the same. Well, Warner Canada and Warner US. Is there a better?
yeah,
There
yeah,
has to be.
it's all connected there.
Yeah. So then maybe that'll happen.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see.
Okay, I have to talk about this last song because I listened to it and I've never laughed so much in my entire life. And I'm a big Christmas person.
Right.
So when artists like to write depressing music about Christmas, I'm like, you know what? Pull it together. It's just, can you just write something nice? Just whatever. I like Christmas music. I like Christmas shopping.
Hmm.
But you wrote to for those who know Take Your Clothes Off, it's to the melody of Take Your Clothes Off, but it's called Give Me My Presents. And then the subtitle is Take My Bows Off. And I read the subtitle and because I knew where you were going right away. When I saw Take My Bows Off, I didn't even need to listen to
Yeah.
it. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be funny. I mean, you bring up Ace of Base, which I love, which I'm like, oh my God, she wrote this song from 1997.
Yep.
Um, Toys R Us, which in the States it doesn't even exist anymore.
Does it?
This concept, no, they've closed them
Crazy.
all. I know.
That sucks.
Um, and no conscience. Like I was killing myself laughing, and it's like this song written from the perspective of a kid
Yeah.
being like, the buildup is too much. Like, can
Yeah.
we speed this up a little bit? Can you drink your eggnog quicker? Can you eat your toast? Come on,
Yeah.
let's go. And what made you write that song?
So growing up, I have a little sister and a little brother, and my sister could not wait. She had no patience when it came to gifts. So the if she was asking for like a Barbie house, and every day is, am I gonna get it? Am I gonna get it? And then it became on like December 22nd they'd have to give it to her, and then the next year it'd be like December 1st. Then the next year it would be like after Halloween, Kylie gets to open her like she was just harassing my parent, and me and my brother were like, just wait, like how can you not wait? And so one year the local radio station that kind of gave me my big break here asked me to do a Christmas song, and I was like, fuck, I don't know any Christmas songs. But I've always been good at just changing the lyrics to things, like, whatever. I
It's
do that in class. Like, you would have hated me maybe because, like, I came in and be like, Miss, instead of writing an essay, can I write a song about it? And I'd, like, take a
oh,
song I had already written. So there was
right.
no work there. And just, I'd make it about Animal Farm, or I'd make it about. And so I
Well,
was. So,
if you can make Take Your Clothes Off about Animal Farm, I want to hear that song. I'm going to send you some political ideas. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you like Civil War. And I want you to write me a
flip the
song.
pigs off or something, flip the pigs off. Um, but so I just basically did this live radio show and told the story about my sister, and then just her unfolding, and she's coming off the rails. She's like, how are you just sitting there drinking eggnog and eating cheese, and there's a whole present over there? And
Cheese. Why does everybody eat cheese at Christmas? I laugh so hard.
so that's where it came from. And yeah, so it's been out, there's different versions of it have been out for a few years, and actually some people haunt me. People will come to my shows with a sign that says "Take the bows off" in like April, and I'm like, security. Like, yeah.
You should just anybody that asks you should be like, "I can see a request for take your bows off. I'm on it." And just sing it. Doesn't matter. July 1st. Friggin' throw it out.
Oh God.
I think it's amazing. I think it's a fantastic song. What's coming up next? So you're finishing an album?
Finishing an album. Yeah, so I have lots of, because it takes so long to sign a record deal. Not a lot of people would know this. It takes months and months and months with lawyers and just tiny little details going back and forth.
Right.
But wait a
Well, they
minute.
got to get your eggs in the contract. That's hard.
Oh, it's a
You,
boiled
you
egg.
think the yeah.
It's like on the off chance that Rhea is playing in Iceland and a 3 week tour turns into a 6 week tour and then has to do physical merch. Should it be a 4% or a 5%? Like literally the dumbest shit. And I'm like,
Oh my god.
so all that dumb shit is over. And I usually don't talk like this about anyway. And
It's
also
important. Look, it's important to have all those T's crossed so there's no more fighting later,
it's so
obviously,
important.
or no more issues. But
It's
as
so
an artist, you're like, for the love of God.
Yeah, it's so important. And I have an incredible lawyer, incredible managers, and I've already seen what that has done for me compared to people who haven't. And I love it.
Right.
But the songwriter part of me is like, I have a wall. I don't want to show you this other wall in my house, but it's just songs on sticky notes all over the
Oh,
wall.
I'm sorry. I need to see the wall.
It's too messy over there because I wanted this place to look clean. So and I had a friend. There's this producer, Sarah McDougall, that was staying on this couch in my studio for a few weeks. So like there's like anyway, there's
I
bedding.
like it.
It's you can't see it on there. So
I want to see the sticky notes.
all around that plaque you can see the sticky notes. They're white, same color as the wall, but
Oh, that's why I can't see them.
so yeah, it's just that's been my songs and trying to I have columns with ones that I've written, ones that
Right.
are half produced and one that are done. So they're all in the last two columns where a year ago they were all in the first two columns. And I'm ready to get that out and I fly to Toronto in a few days to do a photo shoot, which I haven't done in a long time.
Oh,
So
that'll be fun.
it'll be fun. Just getting back in that mode of ramping up again. It feels weird, but it feels
Absolutely.
fun. Yeah.
Are you here? How long are you here for?
I'm there for 2 days.
Yeah,
Just, I feel more and more guilty leaving my partner with the kid all alone,
that's fair.
which is silly because, in a couple months I'll have to leave her for weeks and weeks again. But
Right. But that makes this time super important. And let's be honest. Look, COVID made you put in some time,
yeah, it's hard.
especially when he was young.
Yeah, and it's like it got me to put in the time. It's so great, but I really it's really hard on the partner that's home.
I can imagine.
I've done a few little trips for personal reasons this year, and I've been home on my own for like up to a week at a time, and it's no joke. It's definitely harder than being in a van with a bunch of people telling jokes.
Okay, I want to wrap it up by asking you a few little rapid fire questions.
Yep.
You ready? I'm just going to make them up. I usually have a list, but I don't have a list today. Favorite movie?
Oh no.
Not so rapid fire. Guys, settle in. Get a second coffee.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the OG.
The of course, it has to be the OG. Amazing. Favorite song, not yours. One song.
Raglan Road, like the cover, like Van Morrison and Sinead O'Connor both do this old Irish cover, like on Raglan Road on an
Oh my,
autumn day, I saw her first and knew. I can just cry anytime I want to when that's on.
oh my, I'm gonna go look it up right after
So
this.
beautiful.
Oh my God. Favorite place you've ever traveled?
Um, Frig. I really like the hotel buffets in, in Sweden. Have you ever been to a buffet in Sweden?
You're speaking my language right now. It's like craft services, but in
There's
Sweden.
nothing else like it. Like the Swedish
I've
just
never been to Sweden.
oh god, you have to go. I really enjoyed a lot of
I
Europe.
can't believe you just said it's my favorite place because of the hotel
I know
buffets.
I feel weird about that, but
I
Sweden
like it though.
great. Yeah.
I like it. Favorite book?
There's an author that I love named Lawrence Hill, and he's Canadian. His half brother is Dan Hill, a musician. I saw him at an event in Toronto and got too nervous to talk to him, but he's probably most famous for Book of Negroes, but he
Okay.
wrote several books that are just incredible. He's just such an incredible writer, and he can write from like a woman's perspective that makes no sense. It blows my mind. I really like him, but you know what? My favorite book that I've read really recently is Glennon Doyle's what's it called? Untamed or I
I
think
have,
it's
I haven't read it.
Oh my god, Adele posted it, so I was like, "Hey, I keep hearing about this book." I think my own sexism was like, "Oh, it's like a self-help book for, moms," which I am a mom.
Right.
Forget that I'm in that category now.
Yep.
But anyway, Glennon Doyle is this amazing writer, and she left her husband for this famous soccer player woman named Abby Wambach,
Oh,
and her writing is just it's for everyone. It's for
I'm gonna
everyone.
read it.
I love this book, and it's going to change your life. I listened to the audiobook when I drove to Toronto. It's like a 16-hour drive, and I
Right.
wasn't bored for a single. I wanted the drive to last longer, so that's my most recent favorite book.
I love it. Okay, last question. You ready?
Hmm.
You can have three people at your dinner table, any time in history. Who do you invite?
Oh,
You're
geez,
wishing I gave you this question earlier, I can tell.
yeah, this is a hard one. Oh
I could play
man,
the Jeopardy music if I was prepared, but
yeah, like I could make that like who knows? I love funny people, so like I feel like maybe I would say like Kevin Hart, Cat Williams, and Tiffany Haddish.
just to just to howl for the next however long.
Yeah,
I like it. I'm into it. I know that you're affiliated, before we go, I know that you're affiliated with a charity because I've noticed on different things. You want to just say that real quick so people know?
I'm affiliated with a bunch of charities. I wonder which one you
Oh,
mean.
I read about anti-racism.
Oh, so that is a charity that is not I can't take any credit for it, but I've signed on to it. It's Artists Against Racism.
There it is, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just being a part of this network that is ongoing, that is going to be, yeah, artists raising money for issues that this place will deem fit. So it's just a
Right.
huge network of artists raising money, which I'm a very small part of, but of
Oh,
course
it's
very happy
amazing.
to be a part of.
Any other charities you want to just chat about?
I really love. My heart is in like food banks and poverty and things like that. So Feed Nova Scotia. I'm the province I live in Canada is called Nova Scotia, and there's a charity called Out of the Cold that have done incredible things this year to raise money and raise awareness and get the government to actually pay for hotels for the homeless population to live in through the winter. There
Wow.
used to be a huge
Amazing.
homeless issue in Halifax, and now because of the pandemic and everything that's been happening and the rent going out of control, that this little place Out of the Cold, they're taking responsibility. Really, they're giving people showers. They're making sure every family in Halifax has a place to live. It'll literally the conversations will be like, okay, this hotel's full. We have a mom with 3 kids. Find it now tonight, and they're finding that
Amazing.
tonight. So I've been doing these little things all winter, last winter especially, where people would pay me a certain amount of money, and I would say whatever they want on camera, and then that money
Yeah.
goes right to that to Out of the Cold.
Was
So
that on Cameo or is that something else?
I didn't do it on Cameo. I did it through my own sort of
Oh,
like
just
yeah
it's amazing.
because Cameo takes 30%, and I wanted
Right.
100% to go here, and I didn't
That's
want
an
to.
amazing. You know what? I think I'll do that. I think that's a fantastic mostly people like me to insult politicians, but I think that's a lovely way to use for somebody to get something that they really want and they treasure, and for it takes no time from from you or whatever in order, and then just donate all the money. I think that's a lovely idea.
Yeah, it's fun.
I think I'm in. We have an out of the cold here.
You
I'm
do.
going to do the same thing.
Perfect.
Okay, guys, I'm going to ask Rita to stick around because we're going to talk about things you're not allowed to hear. But for now, I'll say goodbye. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Am I allowed to say that? Do you think that's copywritten?
No, I think you're
Probably.
allowed.
All right. All right. Have a great day, guys. Dismissed.